response to the news, I read a book called The Benedict Option by Rod Dreher. In it, Dreher highlights the life of Saint Benedict, AD 480 to 547, and the path he took when Roman civilization was falling around him. Instead of merely adapting to the culture and reshaping his beliefs to conform to new moral dilemmas, he separated himself from the culture to be with God. For 3 years, he lived alone in a cave, nurturing his devotion to Jesus. He counted being in the presence of the Lord of greater worth than the pleasures of Rome. Reflecting on the saint's life, Pope Gregory wrote that Benedict, desiring rather the miseries of the world than the praises of men, rather to be wearied with labor for God's sake than to be exalted with transitory commendation, fled privily from his nurse and went into a desert place called Subiaco. Because of his devotion, Benedict's fame grew, and soon he had gathered a number of people around him who dwelled in similar dedication to God. They lived an orderly, balanced life of work and prayer, and when Roman civilization descended into chaos, they built a new community based on a biblical rule of life. Dreher points to a similar prescription for us today. Instead of continuing to fight against the culture or trying to save America, perhaps it is time to simply pursue a godly life and practice benevolent detachment, releasing the state of the world to God and living according to His Word despite what is happening around us. Dreher writes, "Today we can see that we've lost on every front, and that the swift and relentless currents of secularism have overwhelmed our flimsy barriers. Could it be that the best way to fight the flood is to stop fighting the flood? That is, to quit piling up sandbags and to build an ark in which to shelter until the water recedes and we can put our feet on dry land again? Rather than wasting energy and resources fighting unwinnable political battles, we should instead work on building communities, institutions, and networks of resistance that can outwit, outlast, and eventually overcome the occupation." I don't agree with Dreher's proposition that we simply drop out of politics. But what can we do when the cultural tide seems to be so opposed to values that matter to families? The cities I used to visit for field trips are no longer pleasant places to explore. In the past, you could safely walk through San Francisco, but with homeless addicts now crowding the streets and laws that allow theft up to $900 without prosecution, cities like these feel threatening. Many families are choosing small towns or even rural areas to provide a safer environment for their children. The shift. I've been surprised at how fast the world has changed, but the cultural shifts we are facing have been a long time in the making. Family-friendly drag shows and gender reassignment surgeries for kids may seem dramatic, and homeless camps in the midst of high-rises may be incongruous, but they are just symptoms of a world unmoored from its cultural roots. In a Christian manifesto published in 1981, Francis Schaeffer wrote, "The basic problem of the Christians in this country in the last 80 years or so, in regard to society and in regard to government, is that they have seen things in bits and pieces instead of totals. They have gradually become disturbed over permissiveness, pornography, the public schools, the breakdown of the family, and finally abortion. But they have not seen this as a totality, each thing being a part, a symptom of a much larger problem. They have failed to see that all of this has come about due to a shift in worldview. This shift has been away from a worldview that was at least vaguely Christian in people's memory, even if they were not individually Christian, towards something completely different. This post-Christian shift seemed to creep up gradually. Christians and non-Christians often want the same things. We want freedom to raise our families, to make a living, to have a happy life, and there has been a basic code of ethics toward that end. Don't steal, be good parents, don't litter. For the most part, we can agree that life has inherent dignity, that we should help the poor, and that childhood is worth protecting. Some of the new lessons we were learning as a culture in the